When things feel a bit chaotic, Instacart helps deliver milk and sausage. Add a little life to your cart. Get stuff from literally all your stores, from baby wipes to albacore. Add a little life to your cart. Instacart helps get your groceries. Your first 3 deliveries are free.
Download Instacart. Add life to cart. Terms apply.
Percolate on a particular mix of odd and inspiring news headlines in Wendy's Coffee House. Newsmakers with a penchant for the unknown, unexplained, and unusual share their experiences with UFOs, ghost encounters, near-death experiences, and more for your own unique blend of Wendy's Coffee House Curious. And now, here's Wendy.
Okay, I can't help myself. I know I said I wouldn't do headlines, but I can't help it, all right? I have to post them, and then I look at them and I say, well, why am I'm not talking about it. I have to talk about it, all right? So I'm breaking that rule. Wendy's Coffee House, the blog spot. I've got the headlines up. The one that got my attention, of course, is the guy who's doing the head transplants. And at one point, he had a volunteer who was going to go through with this on the other end, right? It was at the time he was experimenting on animals. Oh, yeah. So anyway, the animal experiments have been successful, mostly. I think we're probably going to hear the good news. And that means monkeys and dogs. The other step now is human trials for the head transplant. Okay, this is the stuff that you don't get in just your everyday news broadcast that I think deserves more attention, just because. All right, the other cool thing out there right now, this is something you might not see, but if you do a little deep dive, if you like sci-fi, China has a blockbuster they're really proud of, and it's just kind of under the radar here. It's called The Wandering Earth, subtitles, but it looks great from what I've seen. That looks fine. The Twilight Zone, you can see the first episode on YouTube, and the Joker, I think it just dropped the little preview of Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker. The Snowman of Calhoun County, West Virginia. Cool, kind of sounds like a Sasquatch, only white, and that's on Lon Strickler's website. Check that out, Phantoms and Monsters. I'm going to interview him in June. Karma and Frequency. That's the book that came with my energy clearing kit from theghosthelpers.com. All right, we're going to give somebody this kit and see how it works, because this is to get rid of I told you the little girl that is having issues and sleeping with mom and can't stay in her own bedroom. Okay, it's pretty serious, so we'll see if that helps. And the interview I have scheduled coming up with them to recap on that's later in the summer. So we'll see how that works. The other person I have talking about all of this, pretty much the whole kit and caboodle, is my guest today. And Sean Daley from Johnson County Community College is going to be telling us a little bit about what they do. And if you have never had the opportunity to take a class on the paranormal, a legit class anywhere, this is your opportunity, possibly. We might be able to sneak in there along with the other students who are legit. He's a professor of anthropology, the director of the Center for American Indian Studies, and he takes classes on field trips to places like Crescent Springs in Arkansas and then the Sally House. Now, what I found on Facebook, this is a really interesting little clip. I'll have him tell you about it. This is footage of the team at the Sally House, and it shows something happening there in the background as they're sitting. And I need to ask him about how this worked out. But this is something, as a matter of fact, around Halloween time, he's a little bit more active. And one of the places that featured him doing his events was the Prairie Fire Museum. And so if this is, I think, an opportunity, if you have never actually gone on the road, just to experience something up close and personal, to see, instead of watching the videos, instead of letting everybody else give you their opinion, it's hands-on experience with what might be happening that could shift your reality. And so, Sean Daley, I am so glad you are local, for one thing, but I'm so glad you're doing this and giving people a real-life encounter with sometimes, things that people just joke about. And then when you're really having some kind of a crisis, you don't know where to go. So here you are. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me.
what got you started? Because you've been doing this, what, about 20 years or so?
Yeah, that's a good ballpark. To be honest with you, I don't know really what got me started in this. It wasn't anything I planned to do. Um, I think the thing I always say first and foremost is that I'm an anthropologist. I study culture. I'm not a paranormal investigator. I don't think of myself that way.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of this just kind of happened by chance working with different cultures and societies over the years. One of the things I came to learn pretty early on was that what we call paranormal phenomena, supernatural, anomalous, whatever you want to call it, these are worldwide phenomena. Things like ghosts, demons, malevolent spirits, whatever you want to call them, these exist in every culture, every society. The names might be different, how they're viewed, how they're dealt with might be different, but at their core, they're everywhere. And it was kind of through my actions as an anthropologist that, led me to this. And, kind of it started as people knew I was an anthropologist. I knew a little bit about this. They would ask me questions about it, like academic type questions. Then it came to, well, there's something going on at my house. Would you be willing to come check it out? Kind of led to that. And so over the, past 20 years or so, it snowballed from a purely scholarly academic interest to actually dealing with it at that applied, practical level.
Well, and then one of the articles mentioned that you worked with Native Americans, so you're experiencing things on the reservation or in that culture that then give you a chance to expand your horizons as well.
Correct. To be honest with you, the first experiences I had with something I would consider paranormal or supernatural happened while out in Indian country. Even today, 75% of my work is still with Native peoples here in the Americas, but that other 25, 30% around there, yeah, that's kind of getting taken up by the paranormal angle now.
Well, and some of the stuff I've read, at least the encounters that I was most interested in, had to do with one of the Native American shaman. And actually, I think his history is he's white, but his father, he was affiliated with the Native Americans, and that was Rolling Thunder. And when he did the work with Billy Jack, they had the snake scene where Billy Jack, I think, was supposed to be bitten by a snake, and he worked up to get resistance, to get his body to tolerate the venom, so that when he got bit, that would work. But some of the stuff he did with rain, bringing rain into when he would make an appearance, he was a phenomenal shaman. But that part of their culture includes these kinds of things that we in Western sphere, I guess, call paranormal or supernatural or weird. And I think maybe we're missing the point with that.
I got to be careful what I say here. I think a lot of what's out there on Native spirituality is playing for a particular audience. I'm familiar with the gentleman you're talking about. I've never met him personally. To be honest with you, I'm not even sure if he's actually still alive.
He isn't. Yeah, he isn't. He's deceased.
Okay. A lot of that, what came out in that time era, the Carlos Castaneda stuff, a lot of that stuff, honestly, from my experience in working with Native peoples, it's not even true. It's been built for a particular audience. So, for example, I work quite regularly with 3 different Indian nations. They don't even use the term shaman. Shaman has a very particular connotation in the anthropology world. Soon as someone uses the word shaman, it means that they're doing their healing, they're doing their treatment through an altered state of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Once, the normal everyday healers on reservations, they're not shamans. They're medicine men, they're medicine women, they're healers. They're diagnosticians, to use more of a Western term. That term shaman kind of blew up years ago, and it's never been reeled in. And like I said, I know traditional healers. I work with them.
Right.
They cringe when you say the word shaman.
Well, and that's a part of it. Yeah, there is a lot of controversy around that, because there's also there's in people who use the term even don't like hearing the term because then it goes, like you said, it blew up. It goes so many different directions. There's no one use and one form of shamanism.
Correct. and again, from my perspective as an academic in the anthropology world, what classifies a shaman as a shaman is that they're entering an altered state of consciousness to do their work. They're entering that spiritual world, that other plane, whatever you want to call it, through prayer, through meditation, through music. People right away go to that image of someone using ayahuasca, using peyote, using some kind of hallucinogen. That's even somewhat rare in many respects. There's much quicker and better ways to enter an altered state of consciousness,
Agreed.
to communicate with the spirit world. But again, American pop culture over the years has kind of led us to that, falling down drunk stereotype of, tripping.
Okay, hold on. We got to take a break. I want to come back, and
Okay.
we'll switch gears on that and get into one of the presentations that you did was on ghost demons and elementals, the hauntings of Kansas and Missouri. So let's go into what people might expect in taking your class of, the encounters that you deal with. And we'll get further along into this because there's another thing I wanted to get into when we were talking about, you and I, when we were talking about setting this up, about working with the demon aspect. And I think Father Amorth is the one I brought up. All right, so you ready?
Yep.
Okay, hang on. You're listening to Wendy's Coffee House, and my guest is Dr. Sean Daley. He is a teacher at Johnson County Community College, which in my area, that's local, so you could actually take a class or find out more when he does one of his local presentations. And it's fascinating because this is an up-close and personal way to look at it from, like he said, he's not a ghost investigator, he's an educator. And that's what it's all about, learning. Wendy's Coffee House, KCMO Talk Radio. Wendy's Coffee House, KCMO Talk Radio. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate your time. And if you miss anything, I'll put the links on Wendy's Coffee House, the Blogspot site, so you can check it out and do a little deep dive on your own with something you find fascinating. This stuff, for me, I think it's high time that people became more aware and more educated as to what all is involved. This isn't just a joke. It isn't somebody making stuff up or having a hallucination. When somebody has a haunting experience, it can be serious and frightening, and they don't need somebody ridiculing them or saying, well, it's your imagination, here, go see a therapist. That doesn't help. So when Sean is teaching classes, especially at Johnson County Community College, when the one that he's getting into, the one that I've read about was the anthropological of the paranormal and supernatural class, where he goes on site to some place that has a reputation of having experience, having something, events that would make you a little bit more questioning of what's going on, then that helps because it gives you that firsthand knowledge that, wow, what is this? And so you start asking questions. That's what I wanted to get into. You have one of the presentations you've given for the public, Ghost Demons and Elementals, Hauntings of Kansas and Missouri. You have boots on the ground. You've been there, you've seen that, done that, and I like what I saw on the Facebook, the posting of you guys all sitting in the room at the Sally House. What's going on with all this?
I don't know. What video do you have?
The one I saw. Okay, the one I saw, they posted on the Sally House page, and it showed, your class, and there's window blinds in the background.
Oh, you got the window blinds one. Okay.
Yeah, did somebody do that, or was that real?
No, as far as I know, that was legit. I'm sitting there, I'm talking to my students, the blinds just closed themselves. We tried to recreate it. We tried to figure out what did that. I have no clue.
I loved it because I'm looking at the time sequence. Now, there's a little glitch or something that shifts the light as that happens, which sometimes this stuff is electrical, which would make perfect sense. And I'm looking to see, okay, is there a time difference? Is there, you guys, the time is fluid on the video because it's capturing this in real time. And I'm thinking, and nobody heard it at the time that it happened. Y'all are just real calm, cool, doing your thing, and all of a sudden somebody in the background, because I don't hear audio, and y'all turn around and look at the window, and it's like, oh, yeah, and you have a little smile on your face, like, yep.
I'm actually not in that.
Okay, that's the kid in the back. Then there's a guy along the back
that's
wall.
One of my students.
All right.
The reason there's no audio is there's actually audio. It's not on the website because there might have been a couple choice words said at that point in time.
Holy cow!
But no, I'm actually off camera. That's one of my students who's sitting on the chair who kind of looks at it sort of skeptically.
Yeah, because he's close.
Yes, and then there's a female student sitting in a kind of rocker glider type chair, and I don't know if it's on the Facebook page because I don't know what the city actually posted. You can see her kind of rock at one point back and forth quite heavily to see if there was any chance she bumped the blinds.
Yeah.
But she was good, probably half foot, even more away at the extreme of the chair being glided. So there was no way she hit it.
Even then, if somebody bumped the blinds, those are mini blinds that takes a direct pull to shut them the way that you see a car, their lights go by in the background. You see the car outside on the street pass by, and right after that, a quick second, then the blinds flip shut. And it doesn't, in the room, people seem to be just continuing on, and then somebody points it out. And it's obvious there was a change, and I liked it because the camera, as the time is recorded, it doesn't miss. There's no glitch. It's there, and I'm glad you guys were thinking, well, maybe somebody did this. Yeah, from knowing that you're there and doing, checking this, it's helpful to say this kind of stuff can happen. It's just so,
especially there. We've been there quite a few times over the years. To be honest with you, I think we counted it up not too long ago. I think we've been there about 52 times.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
Yeah. Every time we go there, something weird happens. Is it always that extreme? No. But, I mean, we've had objects move on command. And I know there's some video out there of a football rolling itself two times when we ask it to roll itself. It's one of those places. Stuff happens all the time. Is it over the top and dramatic like Hollywood movies? No, but there's consistent activity in that house. There's noises, there's footsteps, there's disembodied voices. There's visual things that happen. Objects move. Massive temperature drops. We've had the lights turn themselves on and off. Faucets in the bathroom turn themselves on and off. It's one of those places.
So it's like a paranormal slam dunk. If you want to go experience it, this might be the place that you want to hit first.
Yes, and to be honest with you, that's one of the reasons I bring my classes there is a lot of these students, this is potentially one of the only times they're going to get to do something. And so we've worked with a lot of cities around here to get to locations that have good reputations and consistently have activity. Again, it's minor activity, but we kind of have a group of about 5 or 6 places we go all the time because they're safe. They're good places for people to kind of test the waters out. And again, they regularly have some type of activity. So there's that chance to actually learn and engage in the process.
Okay, so again, my guest is Sean Daley, and Professor of Anthropology, Director of the Center for American Indian Studies at Johnson County Community College. When you got into anthropology, and you're teaching just straight anthropology, this is kind of a prelude to saying, get out and question and talk to the people, like sociology. Find out what their experiences are instead of just reading all of the previous studies and the previous literature and going from there. With studying the paranormal or supernatural or unexplained, it's the same kind of thing. And you don't always get proof, but you do have experiences. How do you get these kids to be more conscious of what is proof, what is required to be able to prove to somebody else that there's something there?
Well, one of the things I teach my kids is you're never going to have proof. You're never going to have proof. There's always going to be skeptics, and that's fine. And what I try to teach them is to use somewhat of a scientific approach in that we're not seeking to prove anything. We're only seeking to disprove. So we go through the house, we check the HVAC, we check the electricity, we check the plumbing. We actually do mold and air quality studies in houses to see if there's anything kind of particulates that can cause some of these activities. And when you go through all those things, at the end of the day, if what you're left with is 2 or 3 things that you can't explain, and those 2 or 3 things are, ghosts, demons, or elementals, to use the title from that talk,
right,
then we got to consider that is a legitimate possibility. So again, I don't tell my students to go out there and prove ghosts exist. Don't go out there and prove demons exist. Go out there, beat the bushes, see what the possibilities are, and you want to know what? Sometimes it is HVAC. Sometimes it is a black mold issue. Sometimes it's poor wiring, but not always. Sometimes there's things happening that we can't explain with any form of logic.
Okay, so that's...
taking that word... Yep.
I want to start. That's you're taking these guys on site, and you said there are several places. So that's what I want to get into the next break. If you're recommending people who aren't taking the class, but places you've gone that you can count on for something to happen, maybe not with you, but on a regular basis with people who visit. Let's get into that in the next break, okay?
Okay.
All right. So this is, if you're listening, this is something that people are getting more interested in. There's a huge resurgence of interest in paranormal stuff. And I like seeing this paranormal studies aspect being brought into the equation too, because you've got some kind of background, some kind of support system that when you get scared, I got an A+ for being frightened to death. Well, or close to it. Sean Daley, my guest. Wendy's Coffee House, KCMO Talk Radio. Back in a few. Wendy's Coffee House, KCMO Talk Radio. And my guest does paranormal classes as part of the anthropology curriculum at Johnson County Community College. And one of them, the one that got the most information that I had, information on the web, because it was like, yay! And the students are giving it rave reviews. I went to see, the student criteria of this is a good teacher. Oh, yes, you bet you. Sean Daley's Anthropology of the Paranormal and Supernatural class. Okay, so he's been all over various haunted places, reputed haunted places in Kansas and Missouri, kind of checking things out with the students. And what I wanted to find out, what were their highlights? Who did they recommend? Who did they go away saying there might be something there?
You asking me?
Yeah, I'm asking you.
I'm sorry. I thought you were still doing your intro.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I know. Moving on.
Okay. Well, we've actually gone all over the United States. So I'll tell you locally, there's a couple places I recommend, not only because of the activity, but because the people who run it are super, super nice and very willing to work with people.
Okay.
Obviously, the Sally House, that's been a go-to for several years now. We've had a lot of good experiences with the city of Atchison in that house. Glore Psychiatric up in St. Joe.
Yeah.
I cannot say enough nice things about the people who run that place and work with us. And then even closer, the people who run the Alexander Majors and John Warnell houses.
And that has a lot of trauma there.
Yes, Battle of Westport, all the Civil War tied to it, absolutely. Those are 4 local places that I always recommend, not only because, again, Sally House and Glore, you're going to have experiences. Warnell and Major, honestly, they're on and off, but more on than off. But again, the people who run them are just incredibly nice to work with, and just good people. And they're very supportive of what we do. So I really appreciate what they do for us.
So where'd you travel the farthest?
The farthest we go in the class, we go to Waverly Sanatorium in Kentucky, Louisville.
Yeah.
We've been there on a couple occasions. We've been to Bobby Mackey's, also in Kentucky.
Oh, yeah.
We've been to the Villisca House up in Iowa. We've been to Malvern in Iowa, Malvern Manor. Where else did we go? I'm missing the Crescent in Eureka Springs.
In Eureka Springs,
yeah.
Yeah, my brother has been to that one and had experiences, and just these kinds of things. Sometimes it's so subtle. It's like somebody will grab your arm or touch your arm, or you'll feel hot, or you'll feel something brush by you that isn't there. And sometimes you'll actually have a full-blown apparition and see something. But the Crescent, I've heard a lot of people say that definitely that one has a lot of activity.
Yeah, we've gotten a lot there. We haven't been there in a while, but we've gotten a lot there previously. Oh, I forgot one other place that really we get a lot of stuff, Missouri State Penitentiary.
Oh.
Down in Jefferson City. And they're incredible to work with. They're phenomenal. We get quite a bit whenever we go there.
I wish my uncle were still alive. He worked there. He was one of the guards.
And that's the cool thing about it is when you do the overnights there, which is what we usually do, we do an overnight investigation. And the other thing is some of the tour guides there have long connection to the community. So they know the history really well. They were born and raised there when it was an active prison. So they may have not been a guard there, but they still know the location.
The details. Okay. From that, there's also something else we talked about, and this has to do more with that demon aspect. And you've gone along or been part of and are familiar with what goes on with exorcisms. Can you share some of that?
Sure. What do you want to know?
I want to know when you're riding shotgun for something like this, do you have to prepare yourself? Do you need to be concerned about something going home with you as well?
Oh, 100%. I'm not going to lie to you. We have stuff follow us home. It's just a reality of this area. And yeah, I don't think you have to prepare per se. I think you have to live your life in that mindset. So it's not well, I'm going to go do this, I need to prepare. It's that every day you're in preparation mode, because particularly the malevolent things out there, they watch you. They know what you do. They follow you around. So every day you're blessing yourself, you're blessing your house, you're doing things to keep these things at bay, and you're living a life where you're not giving these things ammunition to come after you.
Okay. When you're saying you're living a life that it helps reduce the ammo, what's the ammo?
The negative things that feed them, engaging in activities that feed these things. I'm going to be honest, I'm a little biased. I was born and raised Irish Catholic, still am Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
So I buy into that sin thing. I live my life according to that. But yeah, these things know what your weaknesses are. They know what your predilections are, and they try to feed you those things. They try to convince you those are the things you want to engage in. And by doing that, you empower them and give them more of a hook into you and give them some say and dominion over you.
Okay, so when you're dealing with an exorcist and an exorcism, because this is when it gets very intense, and for people who want to poo-poo it and say this is all bogus and you're just fictionalizing or sensationalizing something, what happens when somebody's experiencing something extremely negative?
As the assistant or the person who's possessed?
As the assistant.
Oh, as the assistant, well, you're going to get things coming after you. You're going to get things putting thoughts in your head, talking into your ear. You're going to get burnt. You're going to get bit. You're going to get scratched. You're going to get knocked around. You're going to get threatened. And that's why you make sure you're on your A game so that you don't enable these things. A lot of what these negative spirits, demons, whatever you want to call them, they work off of fear, and they try to scare you. And as long as you know what side you're on in the battle, you don't worry too much. You remember why you're there, what the task at hand is. You're there to help. You're there to assist the person doing the exorcism, and you keep your mind on that, and everything else is secondary. And something I like to bring up is, whether these things are real or not. Again, you want to believe they're not real. From an anthropological perspective, an exorcism is a form of healing. So even if the person is not truly possessed, in a lot of cultures, running through the process is a form of healing. It helps them deal with the situation. I personally think these things are real. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
But there is the mental health angle, there is the spiritual angle, and sometimes a healing in a lot of culture is by running through the healing process. So whether that malevolent spirit's real or not in a lot of cultures, running through the healing process does make the person better. So there's a couple different ways to look at it. That anthropological angle or the spiritual angle of these things being real. And like I said, I'm sold on these things are real. I've seen enough that, I'm not questioning that.
Okay, so when you're going to an event, a place that you know ahead of time, there's some heavy-duty energy and some negative energy, and you're trying to be on your best behavior, your P's and Q's, what would be an example of something, and we're going to take a break, that would tempt you, that would be out there to kind of get you vulnerable to letting your guard down? Let's just start with that and go from there to how to prevent that and how to clear yourself in the next break, okay?
Okay.
All right. So Sean Daley, and again, teaching at Johnson County Community College. this is a community college. If you want to sign up for the course, you can. That's the great thing about this. This isn't just for, somebody who's going to get a Ph.D. in psychology or anthropology or whatever. This is wide open. So let's come back and we'll ask him a little bit more about that. And if you want to sign up, find out information. All right? Wendy's Coffee House, KCMO Talk Radio. Wendy's Coffee House, KCMO Talk Radio. I really appreciate Sean Daley taking time out from teaching, because yes, he is teaching full-time at Johnson County Community College to talk about this, because these are classes you could take too, all right? And that's something I do want to get out there real quick. You offer classes, what did you say? In the spring, it's daytime, and fall, it's evening, and they're more than just this one class.
Correct.
Okay, what do you got?
I got the anthropology to paranormal and supernatural. We have cross-cultural perspectives on ghosts and hauntings. We have Roman demonology, demons and demonology in the Roman Catholic perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just started anthropology of religion.
Wow. So do you bring in an exorcist for that one with demons on that one, to bring in somebody to say, here's the guy or gal who's on the front line?
No, because they are incredibly protective of their identity. They do not want that information out there.
That's what I've heard. Is it? Yeah, you have to really track them down. Well, for one thing, this is serious stuff, and for people who aren't prepared for it, to all of a sudden get an onslaught of negative energy, it's mind-boggling.
There's a couple out there. Me and you have talked previously about Amarth from Rome.
Right.
There's a guy in Denver named Father Rippinger, who's a well-known exorcist. Gary Thomas out in California, who they made that movie The Rite about with Anthony Hopkins.
Mm-hmm.
He's a real exorcist out in California. Other than that, most of the Catholic exorcists, they keep a low profile. It's so they don't get inundated with the phone calls, the emails, the attention. They don't want it. They want to do their job, and they kind of want to be left alone. Other than that, because it's a very tiring and exhaustive a career to do that on a daily basis.
Well, and you don't want the people who are just curious. Hey, by the way, I wanted to chat with you about your hobby. That's a different approach. You want people who are legit, and that usually comes with referral, word of mouth.
Yeah, to be honest with you, there's even around here, there's a protocol, there's a chain of command. When that phone call, that email comes in, it goes up a hierarchy before the big players get involved.
Okay, so when you're going to do, and I approached this before in the last break, you want to clear yourself. You want to make sure that what would be a temptation? What would be something that would be playing with you?
Well, one of the common things that happens to a lot of us, we get this idea in our head that the person we're dealing with, there's really nothing wrong with them. They're just looking for attention, or this isn't demonic. They have a mental problem. They have a mental health issue. They need to see a psychiatrist or a psychologist. So one of the things is this idea is often put in your head that this isn't real. This is nothing truly demonic. The other thing that happens is that you start to question your faith. Really, do I need to be doing this? Do I need to be committing to this? If this is really a demon, let God take care of it. Let a higher power take care of it. I'd rather go play Xbox. I'd rather go and watch a movie on Netflix or something.
In other words, getting you to bug off.
Exactly. Getting you to the point where, my time, my energy is better suited doing something else. And I've even talked to priests who have gone through that, going into an exorcist, that it's just these little things. You're not going to drive down the road and your car's going to go off the road and you're going to hit a tree like you see in a horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
Is that possible? Sure. Is that likely? No. It's going to be these little things to get you just to say, this person, they need a therapist. They don't need me. So it's going to be those little things to kind of wear you down and push you in a different direction.
Okay, so you've been through this and done this, and everything's okay. It seems to have resolved itself. But what then, when it follows you home, how do you get rid of it?
Prayers, blessings. Honestly, you pay it no attention. You tell it. You don't tell it anything. You never address these things personally.
Mm-hmm.
You do what you need to do. to get it to move out your house and move on and go somewhere else.
Okay, let me interject that when you do address it personally, then you give it ammo because then you're acknowledging that it's there. So you're kind of opening a dialogue without intending to. Might that be a way to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. You don't want to enter a dialogue with these things. No matter how good you think you are, these things are better.
Yeah.
They're older, they're wiser, they're stronger, they are way more intelligent.
Been around the block a time or two.
Yeah, I mean, if we go with the Catholic belief on what these things are, they're essentially angels. They are second, they are one of the highest creations. They just chose to go a different route, but they are incredibly powerful and smart. And yeah, you don't need to be talking to them directly because nothing good's going to come out of it.
Okay, so part of it then is knowing that this is a potential result. And so then, to me, it's like being forewarned is forearmed and going, okay, I can deal with that and still going through with whatever the event is. Does that make sense?
I lost you.
Okay. In other words, if you know ahead of time, if this could be following me home, which some people don't know or they deny. Right. I've been to ghost things. They say, oh, it'll never follow you home. And it's like, oh, that helped a whole lot because then when people experience it, they immediately say nothing happened and then they don't know where to go. So that's why I'm wanting you to say, yes, this is possible.
Oh, 100%. When I take my students anywhere, and I only take my students places where we're pretty sure it's just ghosts. You never know. Mm-hmm. Something could come in that you weren't expecting. I take my students to places where it's safe. Second we leave there, we are doing something to make sure nothing follows anyone home.
Okay.
But that is one of the things my students are told. You don't have to do it. I'm not going to force it on you, but I'm going to say a prayer. I'm going to do a blessing to make sure nothing follows any of us home. And even my students who are out now self-proclaimed atheists, they participate.
Well, yeah. It just takes one event to say, okay, I'm still an atheist, but this is curious.
Exactly. So, again, and the one thing I do want to point out is with this trips with my students, they're not a required part of the class. They're extracurricular. They're voluntary because I do probably get at least a third of my class every semester who is legitimately scared of this and they do not want to participate.
Yeah.
So it's an option. You can do it. We'll talk about the stuff in the classroom from the theoretical perspective. We'll do case studies and stuff like that. But the actual going out to places, that's completely voluntary. And again, probably about a third of my students pass on it.
Okay, so if people would like to take this class, can they audit it? Mm-hmm. Can they do it online, or it's just show up and do it in person?
Yeah, no, you can audit it. You can absolutely audit it. I've had people do that. That's fine, but it's an in-person class. It's not an online class. It's in person. The dialogue, the discussion that you get face-to-face for a topic like this needs to be done in person. Mm-hmm. It's hard to translate it online sometimes, and particularly the questions the students in the class ask. It really encourages other students to speak up and ask questions too. So a lot of this is the energy that the students bring and play off one another. So yeah, it's in person, but again, you don't got to take it for a grade. You could do pass-fail. You could do audit. There are other options if you're just a community member not seeking a degree.
All right. So I have no idea when people will listen to this, but when they do, how are they going to connect with you to take the class?
If you just go to the college website and type in the name of the class, it comes up. I think enrollment actually starts for the fall on April 22nd. Mm-hmm. So yeah, when you go, there'll be a little box you check, and it'll take you right to the registration.
Okay, and you also do appearances, to go out and do a public event as well, because I saw that at the Prairie Fire Museum. So rarely, but yes, I do with a couple places around here. Hey, the internet's great for finding out what you do. Sean,
I try to keep it low key. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay, that's all right. I am so glad that I found you, though. Oh, and I'm glad you're doing what you're doing. And I think you've got a lot of information to offer that people do need right now. So thank you. Anything you want to add?
No, just thank you for having me. I enjoyed our talk.
You're welcome. All right, and if you're listening, I'm going to put the links on Wendy's Coffee House, the blog site, just so you can follow along. And if you do want to take a class, connect with Sean. Sean Daley, this is incredible to be able to have these kind of connections right now in a class, legit, Johnson County Community College. Till next time, stay curious. See ya.
Instacart shoppers know groceries. They know that you can't make guacamole with rock-hard avocados. They know how to quickly find those peanut butter pretzels you can never find. And they keep you in the know by giving you updates about your order along the way. Let Instacart shoppers help take shopping off your plate so you can get time and energy back for what really matters. Visit instacart.com or download the app to get free delivery on your first 3 orders. Offer valid for a limited time. Minimum order $10. Additional terms apply. Instacart. Add life to cart.
Ay, mija, abuelita's on her way and I still need to shop for the party.
No worries. Let's order through Instacart.
¿Insta qué?
Sí, Emma. We can order groceries and more online and get everything delivered in as fast as an hour.
Everything for dinner? Carne, tortillas, limas, plátanos.
Claro. Anything else?
Just make sure the plátanos are ripe.
Get groceries delivered same day with Instacart so you have more time for family. Visit instacart.com or download the app to get free delivery on your first 3 orders. Offer valid for a limited time. Minimum order $10. Additional terms apply.